Hello again, folks. I can see that our little topic has attracted a fair bit of attention, so I'd first like to apologize to you all for taking so long in making my response. Unfortunately, I don't quite have a natural eloquence of speech, nor the rapier wit needed to say the right thing at first glance of a topic. Instead, I have to take the time to write myself out a script, point by point, and consider what I'm going to say for some time. Usually it's only a few days, but unfortunately it didn't turn out that way this time. With that said, on with the show. Sir Takazuma, I must say that I am at a loss for words. First, for your most worthy continuation of our little discussion, and second, for your most honorable efforts to remind the people commenting by posts that respect is always a necessity. It is nice to find a master debater familiar with the accepted rules of the trade, and of course who can still have a good sense of humor about it. Also, I have very little that I can say towards your own counter of my previous topic. At least not without splitting hairs until there's nothing left but a circle of repetition and annoyance. And unless a man wants exceptionally tender meat, there's no point in beating at a horse that's already dead. Maybe a little hair splitting. When I said that the otherkin belief was a practice separate from the faiths that already exist, I didn't really mean to intend that they were something totally unique. It's more a collection of things inspired by. But since it seems to have come across that way, given the choice you offer me, I'll have to admit that it is, indeed, a sort of spiritual remix. I'm even going to admit that you're right, Sir Pot. I'm black too. You have me there. However, I believe I can still salvage some sort of an alternate view to counter with. The Native American culture and faith places, as I've gathered over time through talking with friends and whatnot, that it has a reverence of respect for your elders and your history. And while I agree with this greatly, it also seems to extend into the belief that you have no right to expand on the lessons they've taught. As you said it, it's considered very arrogant, and so I assume wrong, to think that an idea you could expand on or even change the meaning of something that was taught generations before. I'd find such rigidity in belief to be extremely vexing, not out of some personal need to be right, mind you, although it's always nice, but it just doesn't allow for any sort of expansion as new knowledge comes into play. I mean, yes, I know it's true that very little changes over time when it comes to the rules of how things work. However, one thing that is always changing is their understanding of those rules. Mankind in general is always coming across new discoveries, new truths, new ideas, and new angles to see that infinitely high mountain of life we're all trying to climb. If a system of any sort, be it philosophical, religious, or even scientific, is unable to adapt to this new knowledge, then doesn't it have a risk of stagnation, or in a worst-case scenario collapse entirely? I like pointing out this flaw to counter Christianity as well, or any other faith that relies on a rigid set of beliefs for that matter, so I do hope you don't feel picked on over here. The Bible has been around for thousands of years, and is claimed to be fundamentally unchanged. Meaning, sorry I lost my place, that it was written to be understood by people living in a political and spiritual arena fundamentally different from what's experienced today. Everything from the changes in human rights to the globalization of the world to the discovery that, hey, guess what? The world isn't the center of creation. It's not flat, and there is a possibility that there are other planets out there, by laws of probability, of course, that could be in a similar life-supporting state. As far as having a need for some sort of internal structure and regulation, though, I definitely agree. There's a philosophical dilemma going on in the community about who has the right to define how all this works, and what sorts of rules are needed, let alone how to enforce them. So far, the only answer is no one, which is, of course, as you said, problematic. So we're left with trying to find some sort of a consensus. This task is made especially difficult because one of the largest draws to the community is the freedom of belief it represents. I don't think the real problem, though, is what these people believe. I consider it more or less a symptom of the bad methods used to come to these beliefs in the first place. Of course, we generally like the idea there is no set dogma that you must follow in order to be allowed to be an otherkin. There isn't a set of rules or qualifications that you have to meet. We aren't applying for a job here, just trying to figure out who we are and why. A compromise that I see happening runs along these lines. The beliefs you have will be intelligent, only as long as you approach the search for them with thought and consideration, as well as a firm awareness of the place to which this path belongs. My aunt has a very good saying that I think applies damn near universally when it comes to this. When it comes to any spiritual search, you must always keep one foot in the ocean and one foot on land. I suppose too many of us go diving head first off a cliff into the waters without even bothering to learn how to swim. And that's the part that I wish to see changing. I consider the reasons and motivations of people to be more important than what they actually do, for the obvious reasons that people act based on those reasons and motivations. Change the thoughts, change the action. Guide people towards thinking a while and learning before blindly believing in something would, I think, go a long way. To sum up, there is no denying our views are indeed different, and there is definitely also no way to deny that mine have flaws. My final point to the discussion is that there's not a single faith that doesn't, be it old or new, with 1 billion members or half a dozen. Nothing's perfect. But if a path is entered to with that knowledge and a level of preparedness and forethought, then it can be followed with maturity and wisdom to at least some level of enlightenment. I know this was a short one, folks, but that's really all I have to say on the topic, so until next time, I bid you adieu.